And then give the creative people enough time. When we presented the line, the fillet of cheddar, it was Avonmore at the time. It was Waterford Co-op at the time. Avonmore took it over later. And the clients from Waterford said, "God, Typical Dublin Agency, you're so stupid. We're selling cheese, not meat. Do you not get it?" And luckily, we were able to persuade them to go home and think about it for a week, and then they eventually got it. I was reading a book last night. I'm not going to tell you who it is. It's a brilliant book, but anyway, it's not out yet. And there's a chapter in it about the most famous political poster in history. Labour isn't working. I don't know if you remember that from the first Thatcher election. You had an employment office with a huge big queue and a huge Labour isn't working. Margaret Thatcher was presented with that. "Oh, for Jesus' sake, you stupid advertising people. We're the Conservatives. Why are you putting Labour in the headline?" Took her a long time to be persuaded that this actually was a good ad. So if you see a really good idea, chances are you're not going to like it. You have to give it time. Now, this is a critical point. I'm using Mr. Yeats in support here. This comes from his poem Among Children. And he says, "How can we tell the dancer from the dance?" And the answer is, of course, you can't. We can't separate everything and think that you go out to, you have a planning session and you come up with a great insight, and then you come along to the creative people and you say, "Here, make that into a brilliant ad," and you go on to the media and you say, "Give us a brilliant strategy." It doesn't work like that. So it does work like that, but it's the wrong way to work. You're denying yourself the possibility of too many great ideas if you do that. Paul Feldwick, who's an interesting planner from BMP, and he makes the point that, solutions come out of good conversations where there's no politics involved, where everybody is free to be able to say what they want without having to think of the bottom line of their particular part of the process. And only when you have those free conversations are you going to have the best chance of getting good ideas. I've already quoted Yeats, I'm now going to quote Wordsworth, because that's the best description of that was the 19th century. He spotted one of the big sins of the 20th century is atomization. Sweet is the lore that nature brings. Our meddling intellect disturbs the beauteous forms of things. We murder to dissect. We murder good ideas by splitting the process up too much. It's a huge mistake. Secondly, mutual understanding. Now, we're always being told that we need to know more about finance. The financial people need to know more about marketing. They never say that. I think there should be meetings where the financial people are told how marketing communication works and how much an investment in marketing communication can make. That needs to happen. But we need to be a bit more grown up. We're inclined to kind of have conferences called the death of planning, the death of the 30-second commercial, the death of advertising, the death of this, that, and the other. You will never see an accountant having a conference called the death of double-entry bookkeeping. They don't do that. They're grown up. We have a habit of saying, "Don't worry about last year's campaign. I know it didn't work, but now we have a brilliant campaign. It's going to work brilliantly." That's not credible. You have to say last year's campaign actually laid the foundations for this campaign, or something like that. But don't put it like that. We are not a profession, but we have a corpus of knowledge, which every one of us should know. We have accumulated knowledge from our experience. Andrew Ehrenberg, God, I was around when he was in London, a long time ago. He's been shoving out that data from panels for 50 years. And he's come to some interesting conclusions, particularly important given some of the digerati and the idea of concentrating on fans. He says, forget about it. There's no such thing as fans. Successful brands have more penetration than unsuccessful brands. You've got to go for reach all the time because a lot of your heavy buyers are going to die or move jobs or move out of the country. So you have to be continually looking for non-buyers and light buyers to restock your argument. He also, I'm not going to go through this because all that stuff is there. The book, How Brands Grow by Brian Sharp. the Australian professor. You really do need to read that. It's only out about a year, and it's essential reading because it kind of gives most of the findings from Ehrenberg's work and updates it. A critical point he makes, and it gets back to my first point about fame, its distinctiveness is more important than positioning. We obsess over differentiation. How do you differentiate between the top 5 brands in any market nowadays? They're all the same in most cases, and the public know they're the same. So the difference is being distinctive, and being distinctive means being famous, and that means having better ads or better copy lines. It's not your waddy is my waddy. That's distinctiveness. Hugely distinctive. The fillet of cheddar is hugely distinctive. It's a huge asset. So we need to be careful about salience. He makes the same point. And Martin Wengel, the creative director in Bean and Kennedy, the primary task of marketing communication is not stoking the fires of passion among fans, but nudging the behavior of the largely indifferent. Most people are indifferent. If I came across luckily I didn't see the word passionate in any of the papers that I had to adjudicate on, or else they would have failed immediately, because that word is now utterly off the table, or should be in any adult conversation. But I did find the word love coming up all the time. Share the love and kind of let people love my brand. Brian Sharp has a very good line. Love is a many splendored thing. Well, it's got bugger all to do with buying baked beans or choosing a bank or choosing a beer. Nobody loves you. Just doesn't work like that.